Hey, so this is gonna be a quick, hopefully quick deck profile um, of Herald as I'm playing it in April 2018. Uh, I'm gonna assume you know what the cards do or can look them up. I'm not gonna explain the cards, their effects themselves, but I will explain some of my choices for the cards because I feel like I have thought this deck out quite a lot, and my deck I feel is a lot less greedy than other Herald builds that I've seen, and I feel like it's a lot more consistent even when facing hand traps. Because when you win the dice roll with this deck and you're going first, even against your bad matchups like True Draco, which is probably your worst matchup by a long shot, you winning the dice roll is just critical. It's huge because this deck has such a crazy win rate disparity between going first and going second because you have such a hard time breaking boards. And if you go first, you a lot of the times, unless you don't draw well or they draw a lot of hand traps, you can just set up an undefeatable board. So I'm playing 3 Herald. Uh, Obviously, you need to play 3 of him. 3 Ben 10. Ben 10 is just crazy in this deck. Just you with Ben 10 and Dawn's effect, you're literally just getting Heralds out for free. And Ben 10, as far as I know, is the only card that searches the Star Seraphs. So I don't think there's ever going to be a Herald deck without Ben 10 and without the Star Seraphs, because the Star Seraphs, maybe not anymore, but maybe like 2 years ago, they were good enough to just be played as this engine by itself, and you're just hoping to draw into them. And even without drawing into them, they're like decent. But in this deck, when you can search fairies without even having to normal summon, while you're doing your normal ritual summon shenanigans, the fact that you can search fairies and these guys are fairies is just unreal. And then the fact that summoning summoning these guys into getting the combo off basically with stick chair is just I don't know exactly what number, but it's like a +4, I think, maybe +5, depending on whether your opponent had cards on the field or not. So stick chair is just a no-brainer in this deck. You have to play it. Triple Manju. I don't really like the Senju. I just feel like it's not as flexible. And my deck's built more around like uh, I guess you a lot of times with my deck, you would rather have a normal summon for the stick chair combo, even going first, because you actually get it out fairly consistently. But Manju is just really good. He's just nuts. He's a fairy. You can discard him. You need to play 3 Manju, even if you're not playing any Senju. So that's what I'm doing. Then I play 3 Gale Dogra. I'm actually kind of iffy about this card. I feel like if they release some sort of link that uses like 1 insect or something like that, like 1 earth or 1 level 2, anything that Gale Dogger fits under. I mean, obviously insect would probably be if they released a 1 insect link monster like Inzektor or something like that. Uh, Gale Dogger would be insane because you could actually get some use out of him once he's on the field. But as it is now, he's basically just a pre-prep that eats your normal summon and costs you 6,000 life points. So compared to how good he used to be, he's really, really bad. But you still need to play him, I feel, because he is just such a power play. Even though he can get run over and he leaves you at really low life points, it's still, even not counting him, it's a +1, and you just need to play him at 3, in my opinion. I play 1 Honest. I don't really think you need 2. I mean, he's searchable. A lot of the times, he's the last fairy you're discarding. So yeah, you don't really need to ever hard draw him. And this deck doesn't really go into like grind games. It's pretty much just set up a board. If your opponent can get through all your negates, then they win. You're never really going to be, you know, grinding. You're never going to need multiple Honest. A lot of times, Honest is just your final search off of Ben 10, especially if you're not getting the Star Seraph combo out, because you're searching a fairy anyways. It may as well be Honest, because Honest can be used both as a Herald discard and as his own effect. So yeah, I don't really think you need 2 of him. Christia, I think he's better than Barrier Statue. I just don't like that Barrier Statue eats your normal summon. I'm just not a fan of that. If getting the stick chair combo out wasn't as consistent as it is, I wouldn't. I would play Barrier Statue, but I just feel like you want your normal summon for stick chair if you can manage it, you know. And Krista is obviously better if you can get him out the Barrier Statue. So triple Dawn because you need to play 3 Dawn. Uh, Triple prep. You don't ever really add Dawn back from the grave unless you discarded it for the field spell because you're usually banishing Dawn for to add Benten back. But a lot of times you can purposefully not banish it just to add it back depending on what you need. But yeah, it's just kind of unfortunate that Dawn is so good that it just cycles itself that preparation isn't as good because of the fact that Dawn cycles itself, you know? So yeah, but you still need to run 3 prep because it's just a key consistency piece. It just searches your rituals. So yeah, and if you do discard Dawn for the field spell, it's really sick to add it back with prep. So then you play 3 pre-prep. Pre-prep is, I want to say it's the best card in the deck, but it's hard to call something the best card in the deck when you're playing a Herald of Perfection deck, you know? Because the deck wouldn't be a thing without Herald of Perfection. But pre-prep is just, like, insane. Uh, it's just, the thing about this card is it basically does what Gale Dogra does, but without eating up your normal summon and without having to pay any life points. And I think this card is just so sick. It's one of my favorite cards in the game because if this card was worded a bit differently, let me get a drink of water, hold on. If this card was worded a bit differently, decks like Necros would be able to search, would be able to use it, but they can't because you have to have the monster that you're searching be on the spell, be on the ritual spell that you're searching. You can't just search like one or the other. It has to be both. So this card's, as far as I'm aware, this card's really only good in Herald out of any of the remotely competitive decks. I don't really think there's any other decks that run it, but correct me if I'm wrong. It's just the straight +1. And then you play 3 Pot of Desires. I don't really think that you can cut Pot of Desires in this deck, even if you're never going to be resolving. What? This is Matt keep getting uneven, man, with the camera. Okay, you're never really going to be resolving 2 in a game, but you always want to see it. You just never, you're never sad about seeing Pot in your hand, unless you get very unlucky and banish 3 critical cards like Herald or something like that. But usually you're using your search cards like pre-prep before you're using your Pot. So a lot of times you have the Herald out of the deck already in your hand, so you don't mind banishing almost anything. Obviously, it's not fun when you banish like all 3 chairs or something like that because it cuts off a crucial card. But I mean, that's the risk you take to get a +1. You know, the thing about getting a +1 in this deck is in other decks where them having cards doesn't translate to card loss of the opponent. But in this deck, every single fairy you have in hand is just a negate. So getting 2 cards in hand is potentially 2 negates. And not many decks have any sort of mechanics like that. So I think when you do have this mechanic, of converting your card advantage into your opponent's card disadvantage, I guess you could say, you need to play this card that just gives you some of the freest card advantage in the game without almost any restrictions. I play Raigeki. This card I'm sort of iffy on because it's obviously awful going first. You can discard it for Sanctuary, but it's still, I mean, you have cards enough that you can discard for Sanctuary. Like you play Metal Foes Fusion that I'll get to, specifically to discard for Sanctuary. So you don't need this card to discard for Sanctuary, but I just feel like this deck has such a hard time breaking boards that having a Raigeki isn't bad, you know? And worst case, they like, well, worst case is you needed that one extra negate to negate every single card in your opponent's hand, and because you didn't have it and you had a Regeki instead, you lost, which has happened. But I feel like it's just fine, you know. But I'm thinking about cutting it for another terraforming just to make the deck more consistent. Uh, 3 Ritual Sanctuary. Ritual Sanctuary is not amazing actually because it does add consistency, and it is a card that searches your spell, your Dawn of the Herald, whereas Preparation of Rites, normal Preparation of Rites, doesn't search that card from the deck. Only pre-prep does. So with only the pre-preps and the Dawn of the Heralds, or I guess you're also playing the Mondra and the Gale Dagra. So, but outside of your normal summons, you're only playing 6 cards that search Dawn, 3 of them being Dawn, I guess. So it's nice to have this card to search it. Yeah, and it just adds more consistency, in my opinion. And even though, if you think about it, activating it, discarding a card, and searching a card is a -1 if you don't really care about this card on the field. The other effect can come into play where you summon fairies from the grave, but that's not really why you play it. You just really need the consistency, in my opinion. But I am really curious if there's some sort of build possible where you don't play any Gale Dagger, you don't play any Ritual Sanctuary. But that would obviously hurt your consistency severely. But I'm not sure. I think you just need these really consistent cards, especially because people are playing Ash Blossom. So if you get an effect negated, a lot of times you need that consistency. So like, even though my deck seems like it's over the top consistency, I feel like you need it, because if you're going first and you get some sort of search negated, like if you're terraforming and they Ash, you have 4 cards in hand, and you would really love to get Herald off first turn, otherwise you pretty much lose. So you just need as much consistency as possible, because Ash Blossom is a card in not so much Ghost Ogre, but mainly Ash. And double terraforming to search it. Search the field spell. Then I play a Metal Foes Fusion. This card does nothing when it's in your hand, but you can discard it for Ritual Sanctuary. It's when this card's in the grave, you can shuffle it into the deck and draw a card. So it's kind of cool. It's just a cool card to play, and it sucks when you draw it without the field spell. That's why I think I'm considering cutting Raigeki for another terraforming just to ensure I get it. But I don't know. Raigeki, it doesn't happen very often that I actually draw this card without the field spell, because you have so much draw power, and a lot of times you're thinning your deck before you're using your pot of whatever. So a lot of times you do draw into your field spell, and then you're playing the Upstart Goblin because you're playing a deck that really needs to be consistent, and Upstart Goblin provides consistency. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the main deck. As for the extra deck, you're playing double Herald to send with your Gale Dagger. One of this guy pops a card when it's sent to the graveyard, so it does come up if you're going second, obviously, because with Gale Dagger you can go like, if they have like anti-spell fragrance, you can go Gale Dagger, send this to grave, pop it, or whatever they have, you know. If they have a masterpiece with spell and trap, you can go boom, pop, that's an out. But obviously, if they have a masterpiece with monster and spell, you pretty much lose the game immediately with this deck, but let's not talk about that. As for the Exceeds you play, oh god, I got some water. Man, my mouth is dry. Anyways, the Exceeds, the ones that are super important are these two. This is turn 1, this is turn 2. This guy you could go this guy turn 2, especially if you want to bounce an extra deck monster. And he does have more attack, but usually you're going to this guy turn 2. I play Illuminate because I'd rather play a really niche rank 4 Exceed that requires 3 materials, because the chair has the restriction that it can only summon rank 4s with 3 materials. you can't go into like this with chair because of chair's effect. So I'd rather play this guy that could potentially come up, and I could actually theoretically summon him with chair and discard like Metal Flow's Fusion to draw a card and then draw another card off Metal Flow's, rather than play another rank 4. Yeah. And then for the rank 4s that require 2 materials, I'm playing Arc, Castel, Dweller. And this is actually kind of weird, but there's a few reasons why I'm playing these cards of Cowboy and Heartland. But the thing about these cards is that occasionally in some not grind games, I guess, but like your opponent uses cards and then they will set a monster or something and pass after you negate it. Sometimes they will be able to answer your Herald a few turns into the duel after you have done some damage. So I really like, but if they answer your Herald, you just lose because you don't really your deck doesn't actually have. It's kind of weird, but like your deck doesn't really have a lot of stuff in it. All the stuff in your deck just searches other stuff. The only cards you have are like what, stick chair, like Christia. You don't really have a lot of like recursion or anything like that. So a lot of times after you do some damage, if they get over your Herald, having the burn can actually be super sick. And you can summon rank 4s from your grave with the field spell. And this guy just attacks for 2k directly. And a lot of times people don't have an answer to it. And you've left them on low life points, and you have this. It's just it's really clean. Another reason is I haven't played Yu-Gi-Oh for like 2 years. Just came back, started testing decks on DN or Dueling Book, I guess it is now. I hadn't played since Cleefort Cosmo meta, and these are just the rank 4s I had. I'm gonna be picking up some of the links like Saryuja and stuff for mermails, which I'll probably do a deck profile on soon. But I don't even go into links when I'm testing this deck online, so I don't even feel like you need them, to be honest. There's no links that you can go into that are like super sick. But if you have Borreload, then play Borreload. Like, it is an answer to Masterpiece, I guess, but I'm not gonna pay for Borreload just for this deck when this deck overall costs like 100, but I mean it costs more because I'm a rarity whore and I wanted to get a nice holo, but I don't really want to get a Borreload just for this deck when the card probably going to be reprinted. Whatever links are expensive, I don't really want to get them, you know? So the other cards are Omega, Ptolemy, and Gaia Dragon. So these cards are... Omega is 2 lights, so you can go into Ptolemy. You can also theoretically go into Ptolemy with 2 Heralds, but you don't really want to do that very often, except for if neither of you have a hand and you would rather add like a stick or chair from your graveyard to your hand. Sometimes you can go into him with 2 Heralds, but a lot of the time you just want to... I personally am just really fascinated by the combo of, let me put this way, of just going into Omega and then going into Ptolemy and then going into this. And it's just the fact that you have a rank 4 of 2 lights that just becomes 2600 piercing. That's just really cool to me. And even if you don't go into him, Ptolemy, obviously you can't use this like that turn, but you can use him later. So that's pretty sick. And then you can't go into him with Omega, but you go into him with Deltaros. And this guy is game winner against a lot of decks like Lightsworn, I guess Infernoid, whatever you're playing against that this guy counters. He's really sick against. I guess I'm gonna power shuffle and then do maybe some test hands, I guess. Yeah. Rip Player's Choice sleeves, man. These are the sleeves that I used to use all the time for like all my decks, and I just looked them up online, and they're like $20 because $20 a fucking pop for like 60 because they got discontinued for Yu-Gi-Oh size at least. The Magic ones are cheap. As I say that, I'm like ruining my sleeves by like shuffling them. I like messed up the shuffle because I wasn't paying attention. But yeah, let me know if you guys want to see. I can do a video. I have like 10 maybe spellgrounds. I can do like a spellground show off, I guess. Talk about some spellgrounds that I've had in the past and how much I got them and sold them for. But yeah. Okay. So let's say you're going first. Really hope I don't draw some fucking brick ass hand. And then my deck profile is going to be awful. So, okay. So we have. Okay, so right off the bat, we have Metal Flows Fusion and Ritual Sanctuary. So that's pretty sick. So let's say we said we're going first, right? So let's say go Ritual Sanctuary. These guys are. Where should I put my hand? Let's go right here. Discard. We're searching Ben 10. Now that I think about it, it was probably correct to go Upstart first, actually, so that if they ash, if they ash the Upstart, it's better than if they ash the Ritual Sanctuary. But yeah, ignore that. Let's just pretend they don't have ash. But yeah, probably go Upstart first, so that to bait their ash. So, I mean, I have Herald out right now. Do I want to draw now? Or do I want to search something from deck? I guess I want to draw just to see what I'll get. Draw plus 1,000. Manju. Metal Flows. Make sure you draw with Upstart before Metal Flows Fusion in this situation. And yeah. Because you don't want to draw the Metal Flows Fusion because you can't use Ritual Sanctuary again this turn. I'm not sure how long this video is going to be. I feel like I've been talking for a while. But yeah. Ugh, shuffling takes forever. So, did I draw? No, I didn't. Okay, I'm drawing. It's weird to have the deck on the left side. I don't like this. I'm like, oh my god. Okay, this is my graveyard. So, I drew pre-prep. Go ahead and use pre-prep. So pre-prep, you have to search Dawn and Herald every time because you can't search anything else. So you can already see that I'm just going ham. This is just a totally random hand. I'm gonna go back into the deck. So don't Wanju immediately because you might draw. I think no, you will be able to get your Star Sheriff combo off. So this is just a great example of how powerful this deck is. Dawn to tribute Ben 10. You want to use Dawn. You want to use Ben 10 as chain link 1, and then Dawn as chain link 2. So Dawn activates first, and you add Ben 10. Then Ben 10 search. Star Seraph. Because what's my hand? My hand is another Herald, so I can literally just get the combo off like right now. I'm gonna put my monsters under Herald that I summon. Or I'll just move Virtual Sanctuary here. This is searched. Oh my gosh. So you have stick. You want to go. Why am I shuffling again? Or why did I shuffle and then put my deck face up? What the hell? Dawn. Again, summoning another Herald. So you have two Heralds out. Then you're searching Chair. No, actually, or no, I still don't shuffle. I'm still going back in. I'll just put my deck right here. So now because you did a normal summon your Manju, and your deck was consistent enough with that you can go Herald without having to normal summon Manju. That's the key part for me. You can always go Manju next turn just to plus and draw a fairy, but the fact that you aren't pressured into going him just to get Herald out is the key part for me with my deck compared to other decks that are a bit more greedy. I'm just gonna summon it on top of the Heralds. So obviously you get the stick chair combo reveal. It's weird because I remember when these guys came out, you had to do it in like a particular chain link order. And then now apparently it works either way, actually. So you don't even have to reveal. I'm pretty sure you can actually just special summon the chair from your hand right off the bat. But I remember people were like really they made sure you knew your chain link order if you were playing against them with this. So you summon both, draw 2, prep, bend 10. Oh, and I forgot to banish this, but you don't even need to, but I mean I will. I mean, I don't know why I'm saying you don't need to, because there's no point not to, but yeah. So now probably gonna go this is the typical play when you have the field spell out. You're obviously going Ouroboros turn 1. 99.9% of the time, unless you have exactly Metal Flows Fusion pretty much, then you would go Illuminate. But you go Ouroboros here to rip a card from their hand, and then next turn you can obviously bounce cards from their field. So you have 2 Heralds out. Ouroboros, stick effect to pop your own field spell to draw a card. And then I'll pre-prep just to get a fairy in my hand. So let's just get Herald, I guess. Yeah, let's get Herald. Because why not? I have 1 Benten and 1 Herald in deck. Maybe it's better to get Benten, because if I have a Herald left in deck, I could theoretically go into Herald again. But if they clear, but in this situation, if I draw into the ritual next turn, oh, actually, this is a pretty big misplay, because I should have actually searched Benten, because I have pre-prep in hand, and I need the Herald to be in deck to be able to search the ritual next turn. So yeah. Okay. So yeah, so this is what your hand looks like. Triple Benten, Manju, pre-prep that you've already used one this turn. And then you're detaching to discard a card from their hand. So they're going into their turn, unless they played Dark Worlds or some shit, and they got an effect off you discarding. I mean, I guess obviously other decks get effects off of discards, but even in a deck like Burning Abyss or like Lightsworn, where a lot of cards are useful in the graveyard, you're not guaranteed to discard them. Like you can just you have a good chance of discarding like spells and stuff like that, or other cards that aren't that good in the grave. Um, so you have literally 4 negates. They have 5 cards starting their turn, and you have Ouroboros on the field, mounts anything, and then you have double Herald. So good luck to them, I guess. I guess I'll do one more test hand. Actually, you know what? I feel like this video has been like 20 minutes. I'm not sure how long it's been. I guess I'm gonna call it a video. Thanks for watching.